Hi everyone, and welcome back to another drawing demo. Okay, today I'm going to be working from my imagination, so I haven't got a reference photo to show you, although I will be uploading the finished drawing to Patreon, so you can actually download it there and use it as a reference if you want to. Now the drawing took me 2.5 hours, but I've had to speed it up a little bit for this video, and it's only been sped up twice the speed for the most part. And a few little edits in it to keep it within a reasonable YouTube video time limit, so hopefully it's okay for you. Now then, the kits that I used today was Winsor & Newton Bristol board, extra smooth surface drawing pad, A4 size, and I use the Kohinoor woodless pencils for graphite powder and for drawing with as well. I used a 4B and an HB in those. I used a Pentel mechanical pencil with an HB lead in it as well, and a 2H pencil and a 4H pencil. I also used the blade on my pen knife there to scrape the woodless pencils to get graphite powder, blending stump and eraser pencil, kneadable eraser, and I used a Derwent eraser pen right at the end to put a border around the whole thing, and of course a good old dust brush there for sweeping away the eraser crumbs and also for softening back. Right, okay, so we'll get started with the drawing. I'll just quickly mention that if you're interested in learning this drawing, because it is specifically for beginners, it's a very impressionistic sort of forest scene, treescape. It's very easy to do, and like I said, it only took 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Now the full 2.5 hours are actually over on my Patreon page. You'll see every pencil stroke, there's nothing edited, it's all in real time, and with me actually talking as I'm drawing, telling you what to do and showing you how to do it. So it's full instructional video there. So if you're interested, just pop along to my Patreon and have a look there. Okay, so let's get started. So I'm starting with the HB pencil, the woodless pencil, and I'm just scraping the graphite powder off the end, both sides of the paper, leaving a lighter area down the middle. Giving it a nice coating, a nice coverage there. Got plenty down there. Then with the kitchen paper I just blend it all in, soften it all back, and then when that's done I'm now using the 4B woodless pencil and just repeating the process, just scraping a little bit more powder down just to darken it up a bit, and same again, just blending it in. Now with the HB pencil I'm just starting to mark out a few tree trunks and branches. At this stage don't really know what the picture is going to look like. I've done lots of these pictures before, very similar scenes, but each one takes a little bit of thought, how big the trees are going to be, how many you want there, the best place to put them, etc. So I'm just kind of roughing a few tree shapes out just here and there, just to see if I like the look of it, because remember this kind of picture is all based on your imagination, so the marks that the graphite powder leaves kind of inspires you to put the trees in certain places, or use the graphite powder as a grass embankment, or whatever. The marks that it leaves I just kind of go with the flow. If it reminds me of a tree in the distance, then I'll draw a tree in the distance. Yeah, so it's it's a lot of creativity involved in this one, and imagination. But it's like I say, this is for beginners, and the reason I've done this for beginners is because 70% of the picture is done within the first 5 minutes, with the graphite powder just being put down on the paper there, and the rest of it is really fairly simple. A few simple tree shapes. I'm actually using the HB woodless pencil there just to put that tree in. Just a few simple tree shapes put in the right place, and you've got yourself a really nice, simple but nice, impressionistic drawing. Now, if you do struggle a little bit with drawing trees and getting the shapes and the proportions right, there's another video over on my Patreon to accompany this one. Well, to accompany that's actually a series of 3 of them, which sort of spread over 2.5 hours, but I've also made a separate one, so there's going to be sort of 4 videos for this. And the separate one I've made is all about how to draw these generic trees, as I call them, these just simple tree shapes. I've learnt quite a few little techniques over the years to get these looking right, and I share them with you over on Patreon as well. So as you just saw there, the path was put in with the eraser pencil, just kind of working it out as I go along. Didn't really have much idea of how wide I wanted it, if I wanted it to be straight or winding. So I've just kind of roughed a rough shape in now, and I'm just going to draw a few more trees in and just kind of see how I feel about the whole thing. I mean, I might decide to change it, I might, just alter it a little bit. We'll see how we go. It's that kind of mindset that you have to have when you're doing these kind of drawings. Be open to anything and jump on any opportunities that you see. Because we've got no expectations or any preconceived ideas or reference photos that we're working to. So it's all, very spontaneous. Just using the blender there just to put the tree canopies in. Fantastic tool for doing that. If you see some funny hand gestures, by the way, that's just because I was talking in real time for the Patreon video. And obviously I'm doing a voiceover for this one. I'm just extending the path now just to make it go further off into the distance. Seem to give sort of greater depth to the drawing. Now the 4H pencil, I'm just kind of lightly shading some of the distant land areas in. It also helps to make the path stand out just a little bit more as well. Trying to keep it sort of fairly misty in the background. We've got no foliage on the trees or anything like that, so it's obviously, a late autumn or winter scene. And during those times, we get a lot of sort of moisture in the atmosphere and fog and things like that. So I'm trying to keep it fairly misty, particularly in the back part of the drawing. Pressing fairly lightly as well with the 4H pencil. I don't want to leave any scratchy pencil marks or anything. These H grade pencils can be quite scratchy, so nice light pressure with them always works best. Now I'm using the blender again just to put in another plane of land there. It's kind of like the horizon there. So it's very misty, very soft. Just a suggestion of a few little trees or little hedgerow or something there. Everything's all very sort of lost and found edges in this picture. It's very impressionistic. But I think the beginners will have fun doing this one because everybody seems to love drawing mist and that kind of stuff. So this one's a fairly misty one, nice and soft and everything, and you can just let your imagination run wild with this one and just have fun with this. Still using the 4H pencil there, just to put a few little sort of grass strokes, just to sort of create just a very impressionistic grassy bank just there. Of course, you don't have to copy this exactly. In fact, it's best if you don't. The whole idea is for you to put the graphite powder down and see what you're left with and then work to that, instead of trying to copy exactly what I'm doing here. But I know there'll be those of you that want to try and copy as best as you can, because it's a fairly safe thing to do, and that's okay, particularly when you're beginning. But the whole idea of this picture It's just kind of get you thinking on your feet, and you know, using your imagination, you know, and exercising that part of your brain to get you used to this kind of drawing. And also I'm trying to omit a lot of the details. I'm only putting in the necessary branches and twigs. I'm not really, you know, drawing them all in. I'm trying to leave out as much detail as I possibly can, to make this nice and easy. And also, you know, the more detail you leave out, you know, the more impressionistic it can look, really. But you have to strike that balance with, you know, a picture looking too sparse, you know, for lack of detail. So just going to need a little bit here and there. So I'm still using the 4H pencil to keep everything fairly soft and light in the background there. And just continuing just to draw a few more tree shapes, tree trunks. So like I say, even at this stage I'm still working it out where I want the trees to be. You know, I might put one or two in and not like it, decide to erase them out and just change it a little bit. So I'm going fairly lightly, just in case I need to erase something out. But I really enjoy doing these kind of drawings, you know, not copying from reference photos or anything like that. I mean, it's great to do both, you know, don't get me wrong, I really enjoy doing both, but there's just something very special about doing these drawings. You can have some, you know, some great fun doing these, and just, like I say, let your imagination run wild and do whatever you want. You know, you've got no preconceived idea of a reference photo, so it's all down to you, you know. And again, you know, you can put as much detail into this as you want to. So like I say, I've left a lot of it out to keep it nice and simple for the beginners, and to keep it fairly quick as well. I mean, although the drawing took me 2.5 hours, that's very, very quick for me. Usually drawings take me in excess of 20 hours. So that kind of says how much detail I've left out of this. But I'm putting just a little bit in now with the pencil eraser. Just a few little highlights on that area of graphite there. I'm trying to make that look more like an embankment of brambles, or just a load of overgrown shrubbery there. But again, keeping it fairly soft and not highly detailed, and kind of fading it off as it gets towards the edge of the picture. So again, it's that lost and found kind of technique, which always looks good for impressionism, and particularly in misty scenes as well. You know, you could add figures to this. You could put some animals in there, you know, a deer or horses or anything in there. You can add to this as much as you want. I just wanted to keep it a fairly open and easy drawing, so that you get the idea how to do more or less, you know, sort of a background landscape. Okay, just a few little highlights. Literally just spent 2 or 3 minutes, just a few little dots here and there, just to suggest a few highlights. You know, if this was one of the detailed drawings, I'd have spent hours there. But just a few little highlights is all you need for this kind of thing. Now I'm using the kneadable eraser now, just to roll up from the edges into the picture. I'm trying to create that sort of vignette style of drawing, just kind of fade it a little bit. Again, this will also help with the misty effect and the impressionistic look of the drawing, and also it'll save you hours of drawing grass in as well. But I'm not going to bother drawing any grass in or anything like that. I'm just going to leave it as a tone there. We've got some variation in tone in the foreground there, and that'll be fine. But just to add a little bit of interest to it, I'm going to do the same as what I've done in the middle distance, and just add a few little highlights with the eraser pencil, just to suggest maybe little clusters of flowers or little highlights on top of stones that are, you know, in the grass or whatever. Just adds just a little bit more interest and just breaks up the starkness of the foreground. I mean, you don't have to go for the vignette style of this one if you don't want to. I'm just showing you that as another option. And it's a nice effect as well. I actually like vignette style drawings. I think they can look really nice. So now I'm just putting in these silver birch trees. They have sort of very thin, wiry branches on them. Just increasing the contrast a little bit as well on the shadow side. And then when it's done, I just erase a border out all around the edge with the Derwent eraser pen, and that's it. It's as simple as that. So it's quite a nice little impressionistic sketch. Hope you do well with this one. I'm sure you will. If you want to pop along to my Patreon, you'll see the link come up here on the screen, so it'd be great to see you over there. Thanks very much for watching. Bye for now.